Hey everybody, the Johnny Cage here, back with another movie review. This time I went to see 007, James Bond in Skyfall. And, let's see. Well, first of all, IMDb, this currently has an 8.1. The description goes a little like this. Bond's loyalty to M is tested as her past comes back to haunt her. As MI6 comes under attack, 007 must track down and destroy the threat, no matter how personal the costs. And right now it's got an 8.1 on IMDb. It's number 219 on the top 250 movies of all time. And, a brief history of me in James Bond films, which is very brief in and of itself. I've only seen 3 total. I've seen Goldfinger, I've seen GoldenEye, and I've seen Casino Royale. So going into this, I was going to go see Quantum of Solace when it came out, but I heard from a number of people, especially people that like James Bond movies, that it wasn't that great. So I ended up skipping that one. Went to see this one, and I gotta say, this is an awesome, awesome movie. It starts out with a really intense action scene, which reminded me of the only other action movie that I've seen this year, really, which was Expendables 2. But this was just, so, high impact stuff, just so well done on so many levels. It doesn't even compare to Expendables 2. Expendables 2, you just go to watch that to enjoy it for all the old, action stars that are in it. But this was a genuine action movie, and I loved it. It starts off with, this is a review, obviously there are going to be spoilers, just so you know. Starts off with him already in the midst of a mission. He's trying to track down this guy who has a list of names of NATO officers that are embedded in terrorist organizations around the world. And this list has gotten loose, and the main antagonist, who we'll get to soon, very awesome character, he's going to let this out into the world and have these people be known, and then, all hell breaks loose, essentially. As he's tracking this guy down, they end up on a fight on this train, and this other agent that was with him on this mission, she sets herself up for a shot, like with a sniper rifle, as they're fighting on top of this train, takes the shot, and shoots Bond accidentally, even though she doesn't have a clear shot. But M, who's played by Judi Dench, she's the older lady who runs MI6. She gives the go ahead to take the shot, even though she doesn't have a clear one. Bond falls into the ocean, and then we have the title sequence, which is great. You can't help feel like they're trying to take a darker tone with this movie, even though I'm not too familiar with James Bond movies. But ever since Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, you feel like a lot of movies have been taking major franchises that route, and I felt it a lot at the beginning, in the middle of this movie, but then things started to lighten up. There were some jokes thrown in there, which was great, so it didn't entirely feel like that, but you still got the feeling that there was a hint of that in there. So let's run down the list, shall we? Daniel Craig, and he's playing James Bond again, and he gets shot. He ends up going to this island for an untold amount of time. He's presumed dead. And he comes back to MI6 after the main antagonist, this guy named Silva, played by Javier Bardem, who was the bad guy in No Country for Old Men. And if you loved him in that, you'll definitely love him in this. But he actually blows up MI6 headquarters. So, it's like this feeling that's real personal. It's not one of those James Bond movies where he just goes out on a mission and he's just, trying to track down some bad guy and save the day. Now it's, it's right there. It's happening at HQ, all these problems. So he goes to Shanghai. Once he has to go through this physical and all that, and he doesn't actually pass it to get back into active duty, but they say that M says that he does because, she's sentimental about him and all that. So, he's tracking down the guy that he was trying to go after on that train. I'm surprised they don't tell you how long ago that was. I think that would have been a good indicator of how much time has supposedly gone by, but maybe it's not as much as it seems. It's probably no more than a year, but or maybe less, probably only like 6 months at most. But anyhow, so he's going after this guy, and they go to Shanghai, China. Brilliant cinematography here. I love it when they get to this place. It's nighttime the entire time they're there. The colors are fluorescent. They're beautiful. It just looks amazing. I wish I had seen it in IMAX just for this part alone, just because it looks so great. So he tracks down this guy. Things kind of go bad when he runs into him, and he ends up dropping the guy off of a building inadvertently, kind of, and that kind of goes to show how he's an aging agent. He probably shouldn't be doing this anymore. He's not fit for duty. But so he doesn't get any information of him. He dies. He goes on to find out more about this guy through this girl at or the kind of Bond girl in this movie, and that's an interesting thing too. There are two Bond girls in this. One of them is actually the girl that shot him in the beginning. She ends up playing more of a part in it. But there's her, and then there's also this other chick whose name I will not even try to pronounce. It's something else. I'll tell you that much. But they both have like short little love scenes with James Bond, but nothing that you wouldn't expect. But it's different how they spread that out over two girls instead of just keeping it to one. Neither of them, well, this Chinese girl, I don't know if she's supposed to be Chinese, maybe. But anyhow, she doesn't last very long in the movie. But she does lead Bond to Javier's character named Silva. He's a master hacker. That's how he got into MI6 and started all of this stuff going down. And he is just amazing. And you find out that he used to work for MI6 as well. And I don't know if this is the first time they've ever done that in a James Bond movie, where they brought back a guy that was an agent for the organization and he's a bad guy. But really just awesome guy. Just as the way that he goes about the character is just phenomenal. But if you guys saw No Country for Old Men, which I assume most of you did, really, it speaks for itself, the acting level that this guy's capable of. So, anyhow, moving on with the story. Well, I haven't mentioned Q. I don't even think there's a credit. Well, there probably is. I think it's Ben Whishaw. It doesn't matter. I don't even know if he's been in anything else, but he's a really young Q. Q is traditionally in James Bond films the guy that gives 007 his gadgets. And normally, in a lot of the older movies, especially with Roger Moore and Sean Connery, they're really over the top, exploding pens and all sorts of, ridiculous crap, jetpacks and things. Here, it's really simple. It's literally just a gun that he can only fire. It's calibrated to his grip or his fingerprints or something like that, so only he can fire it. And a little radio, which is just like, kind of just a little device for tracking. So, and he only uses that on himself just to let them know where he is. Anyhow, long story short, when the bad guy Silva captures Bond the first time, things get a little out of control and all that, but Bond actually manages to capture him during that part, go back to MI6, which is now located in a bunker that would have been one of like the places that Winston Churchill would have fled to during World War II if things would have gotten bad, which is kind of cool. So they they take him to this holding cell, and they're holding him there, and of course he escapes. That's just how it goes. Long story short, I should say, he escapes. That's actually, it takes a while. I forgot to mention the Q character is also like this younger guy, very like technological and stuff. Kind of speaks of a lot of the younger entrepreneurs that have been coming up in the world of IT, in the past decade or so, which I think is a good, I don't know, nod of the head, some tip of the hat, something like that. He escapes. He's trying to kill M, really. That's his goal, is he's a terrorist and all that, and he has these names of NATO officials that are out there in, undercover, but he really just wants to get back at M, because he, previously, when he was still working for MI6, he had been, tortured to no end, and he just felt like, she totally turned her back on him, and he tries to kind of have Bond see it from his perspective too, because Bond can now relate, because she told the other agent to take the shot on him, pretty much just got him killed. Not really thinking about his well-being, but I mean that does go along with the territory of being a secret agent and all. So anyhow, things get pretty crazy when he escapes. You have some crazy, just action scenes everywhere. I love the amount of action in this movie. I can't stress that enough. There was no slow parts. I never picked up my phone to look at the time on this at all. It's probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it seemed like a breeze, and I'd be really happy to watch it again. But long story short, they end up going back. He tries to kill M once. Bond is able to rescue her in the nick of time. They escape to a place called Skyfall, which is what the movie's named after, which is apparently the orphanage that James Bond grew up at. They go there, there's an old guy actually still there, even though the place looks like it's, it's been abandoned for years, so I don't know what he was doing there exactly. But he tells them like, yeah, like I guess he was friends with James Bond's father, and he still has his old like hunting rifle. And they leave. He has Q leave this trail of breadcrumbs, in a sense, that will take him to where his location is. And so it's going to be this big showdown, and they have this like montage of them setting up traps in this big old orphanage. It reminded me of the scene from Home Alone, actually, where Macaulay Culkin's setting everything up, getting ready for the burglars. But so yeah, they have all that happens. All these guys show up and they get killed because they have all these awesome traps set up. At the end. Yeah, let's just cut to the end. Why not? Because this is a movie you really should go see. So I'm going to spoil the ending, but if you really want to go see it, stop right now. Just so you know. But at the end, they blow up the orphanage. Bond puts like 2 propane tanks together. The whole thing explodes. He tries to kill everyone. Doesn't kill the main bad guy. They get to this church that's not far away from the orphanage. M in the process had been like seriously wounded, but she's still alive for now. Gonna give that away. And the guy, Silva's going to go kill her, and there's nothing standing in his way at this point. Bond's been going through this underground pathway to get out of the building, the orphanage that exploded, and it pretty much just ends very anticlimactically. No fight between the two at all through the entire movie, but that's kind of Bond style anyway. It just ends with him throwing a knife right into his back and kills him on the spot, pretty much. And then you go to Judi Dench's character M, and she dies of her wounds. And then there's a new guy, this guy named Gareth Mallory, who takes over as M at the end. He's actually been a pretty main character throughout this. He becomes the new head of MI6. And it's funny because then they also mention at the end that the African American agent who shot him at the beginning, this black chick, she ends up. He asks her he's like, we have never had a formal introduction. What's your name? And she says that her name's Eve Pennywise, and Pennywise is the traditional secretary for M in the old school James Bond films. So they set it up for a next film very well, and I believe Daniel Craig has signed on for 2 more James Bond films, even though it really does look like he's getting pretty old in these movies. I saw him in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo as well, and I don't know, he's getting a little old for James Bond action, I think, but we'll see. He can probably still do it for 2 more movies, to be honest. He's pretty freaking awesome at it. Definitely a new James Bond compared to all the others. Anyhow, my final verdict, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. I think if I was a Bond fan, really craving a really good Bond movie, then I might even give this a higher rating, because it's I think it's the only Bond movie that's on IMDb's top 250. It's really well done. It lives up to all of the hype that I had heard about it. And honestly, if you want a really great action movie, even if you don't know much about the James Bond series, like I've said that I don't really at all, it's really still worth seeing. You don't need to know much about James Bond to really enjoy this film. But anyhow, yep, 8 out of 10. That's my final verdict. Next week, I'm going to see Lincoln. I thought that it was coming out this week. I was wrong. So next week will be Lincoln, and that should be an interesting one as well. But yeah. Go see, if you have some extra money, don't have some extra time, go see Skyfall. Definitely worth it. Anyhow, this is the Johnny Cage. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you have not. I'll talk to all of you awesome people tomorrow.